Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we're going to be starting our in-depth look at the 2019 Pokemon TCG rotation by looking at all the cards we're going to be losing from BreakThrough. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we start it off as we mean to go on with 3 categories. Fringe Plays, You Used to Be Cool, and big losses, although we will look at all the trainers at the end. So starting off in terms of Fringe Play, we are losing Typhlosion. This is a card that a lot of people have tried to make work over the years. It's got an attack for 1 fire energy, discard the top 5 cards of your deck, 80 damage times the number of energy cards you discarded. Every time something like Puzzle of Time comes out and shows us a card like this, people go, yes, we can work it with Typhlosion. Yay! It never works. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it will remain a Fringe Play. Now, technically, we're losing the Magnezone that allows you to attach as many lightning energy as you like during your turn, but the good news is that in Forbidden Light, we got essentially what is a reprint of this, so that's quite nice. We can still keep it. Now, Gengar was reprinted in Generations, but as Generations is also reprinting, we're losing this as well. This is another rogue deck people have been trying to use for a long time. Creepshow for 2 energy. If your opponent's active Pokemon has 3 or more damage counters on it, it's knocked out. People have tried to use it with everything from Decidueye GX to Buzzwole, and unfortunately, it's just never really worked. We're losing Mamoswine. Mamoswine makes me so sad. I hate when we lose a Mamoswine. It really was the Piloswine, though, that was actually the more interesting of the two. And there was a time when I thought maybe it could actually be nice. Fighting double colorless, 30 damage plus 10 more for each retreat cost in your Swinub, Piloswine, and Mamoswine. Could have been cool, never was. And one of my personal pet projects that I really thought could be good one day, Noctowl. Double colorless energy, 20 damage, times the amount of item cards in both players' hands. Then Noctowl Break came out with a similar but even better version of this attack, doing 60 damage. Well, 60 damage plus 30 for each trainer card, so not just item trainer in your opponent's hand. For 3 energy, I really thought Noctowl was going to work. I made so many deck lists, it never did. Sorry about that. Now, in terms of You Used to Be Cool, these are cards that had success but really dropped off the map. There was a time when Raikou was actually really good. And I did go to Germany and get a German Raikou once, which is kind of cool. The ability said that when you got any lightning energy attached, you reduce damage done to it by 20. So you would pop a Fighting Fury bout on there and essentially have an HP of 180, which is pretty good. Then 50 damage plus 20 more for each lightning energy attached to it, added up quite quickly. And you could play it with Electrode, and you could play it with Magnezone, and for a while it was quite good and saw a bit of success, but it did unfortunately drop off the map. Houndoom EX actually made, I think it was top 16 at the London Internationals in 2016. And it was a disruption deck, a mill deck all built around Melting Horn. 1 fire energy, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And then you would play it with the traditional disruption cards like Team Flare, Grunt, Crushing Hammer, etc. It was a really fun card. And David Rudhoff was the person who did well with it. It was a deck we were all rooting for because it was unusual, and it kind of disappeared pretty quickly, but it was still kind of fun. What was not fun was Mega Mewtwo Y. I despised Mega Mewtwo Y. It was, for a long time, my least favourite deck in the entire format. So for minimum double colorless energy, 10 damage plus 30 more for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. But then you would use Shrine of Memory so that you could copy Mewtwo EX's damage change, 2 Psychic, 1 colorless, don't forget we had Mega Turbo, and then you would just swap damage counters with your opponent's active, meaning if they didn't one-hit KO you, you just put it onto them. It was horrible, and I hated it. We are losing the Yveltal Fright Knight version, which again, for a little while, was actually a phenomenal card. It did start outperforming the traditional X and Y Yveltal for a little while. The ability said that each Pokemon tool in a play had no effect, which was pretty cool. And then Darkness double colorless, 60 to the active, 60 to a benched EX. Clearly no good now that EXs have gone away, but for a while that put a lot of damage on the board, and given that it was 2-hit KOing Shaymin EX, yeah, that added up pretty gosh darn quickly. And then there was the Xerneas, the Rainbow Force Xerneas. I used to call it Rainbow Road, a lot of people did. And, I've been playing against this on PTCGO as recently as last week, but it used to be a genuinely competitively viable deck. Fairy double colorless, 10 damage plus 30 more for each different type of Pokemon on your bench. And then, of course, we got dual type Pokemon like Volcanion and like Galvantula in Steam Siege. And you know what? It was pretty good for a while. It won a few tournaments, but it did drop completely off the map. In terms of big losses, there are some cards in this set that we are really going to miss, and probably none bigger than Octillery. Abyssal Hand allows you to draw until you've got 5 cards in hand. And I know we've got Oranguru, who's a basic, but Oranguru gives you until you've got 3 cards in hand, not 5, and I'm sorry, but that is a huge, huge difference. Octillery is probably the best draw support we've got at the moment. You can use Brooklet Hill with it. It is going to be missed. We're also losing Gallade, which is a bit of a pain because it's going to make Gardevoir decks a lot worse. For a while, people did think we could actually play this with Octillery as a deck on its own. Double Colourless Energy, 130 if you played a supporter this turn. And then, of course, you get to rearrange the top 5 cards of your deck, meaning that if you're only drawing 1 or 2 of Octillery, you can manipulate the one that you draw, or the ones that you draw. It was great in Gardevoir decks, but it really didn't see much success outside of that. Gardevoir decks will be worse after rotation for losing this. We are losing Zoroark, not that Zoroark, and it did see a fair amount of play. The ability let it jump into the active, and then if you could free retreat it with a Float Stone, it was just a permanent switch. And then double Colourless Energy, 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your opponent's bench, punishing them for benching Pokemon. And then we're losing the Break as well, which for 1 Darkness Energy could copy one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. And against stuff like Tapu Bulu, this was phenomenal. A non-GX got a 1-hit KO on a GX for a single energy. Yeah, count me in. We're also losing Mr. Mime. This was also reprinted in Generations, but remember, Generations is rotating. We don't have many good ways to protect the bench now, although I did do an analysis of Sky Pillar the other day, a stadium that will help to fill the void. And don't forget we do have Machoke, though Machoke is a stage 1. And then we get to the item cards, or the trainer cards that we're losing. So starting off with supporters, we are losing Bridget. This might be the biggest loss of the rotation. It is a huge, phenomenally large loss. At the moment, everyone just uses Tapu Lele on turn 1 to Wonder Tag for this. Now, to be fair, you can do stuff like use Brooklet Hill in fighting decks instead. There are other options. But honestly, it's just too gosh darn good, ladies and gentlemen. It sees so much play. We are going to build our decks differently because we're losing it. We're also losing Skylar. Search for any trainer cards. Saw quite a lot of play in quite a lot of decks. It's become a fringe play now, but it's seen pretty much constant play since it first came out in Boundaries Crossed. And we're losing Fisherman, which is really good for recovering energy. If you're playing something like a Magnezone deck, you're going to wish Fisherman wasn't rotating. We're also losing Judge. Oh no, wait, we're not, because it's been reprinted in Forbidden Light. And we are losing Giovanni's Scheme, but then Giovanni's Scheme is pretty much entirely worse than Professor Kukui, so there really is no reason to get upset about the loss of Giovanni's Scheme. The only stadium we're losing is a huge one. It's Parallel City. Seen a lot of play in Garbodor decks. It's a great tech against Zoroark to try and limit their bench space. It's just a great tech all round. Most decks nowadays, if they don't have a particular stadium to use, tend to go, we'll chuck in a couple Parallel City, see what happens. The whole reducing damage thing doesn't see much play. It's all about reducing your opponent's bench down to 3, and it has seen a lot of play. In terms of your tools, we're losing Floatstone, which again is absolutely phenomenally huge. We've got Escape Board for after rotation, which gives you free retreat If you've got a retreat cost of 1, it reduces the retreat cost by 1. It allows you to retreat if you're paralyzed or asleep, when you wouldn't be able to otherwise. If you've got all Pokemon that have a retreat cost of 1, fine. And actually, this could even be good against a free retreater like Tapu Koko, because you know what? They put you to sleep or paralyze you, you can still retreat. But honestly, Floatstone, we are going to miss it. We're also losing Assault Vest, which saw a lot of play for quite a while. Reduces damage done by a Pokemon with special energy by 40, but the fact that Field Blower is everywhere and can get rid of it before your opponent attacks, along with stuff like Choice Band coming out, which is just a better option most of the time, means that this hasn't seen much play for quite a while. And then in terms of item cards, we're losing Heavy Ball, which sucks because now 2 will not be the worst retreat cost in the game. Highest retreat cost until you can use this. And some decks use it. Decks like Vikavolt, Tapu Bulu use it. It is a card which is going to be missed. And it's one of those cards that even if you didn't play it, it was always sitting there maybe to be used in the future. We're losing Professor's Letter, which is a great way to search out all of these basic energies. And yes, I know we've got Pow or a Choreo that can do it as an ability. And I know that we've got Rabombi, but neither of them saw anywhere near as much play as Professor's Letter. We are losing Town Map, which is such a shame because how are we going to know what's in our prizes nowadays? Gladion makes you shuffle up afterwards, and although some people have told me to the contrary, I'm fairly sure Beast Ball does make you shuffle up as well. Sorry about that. And we're losing Super Rod, which kind of sucks. We're getting Energy Recycle System, which is pretty good for energy, and we've already got Rescue Stretcher, which is good for Pokemon, but Super Rod could give you a choice of either, whereas Energy Recycle System and Super Rod, you've got to pick either one or the other. Super Rod, you could go 2 of one of the other. It's a little bit sad, but hey-ho. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all the cards we are losing from BreakThrough. It's a very good set, and there are some cards in this set, like Octillery, Floatstone, Bridget, etc., which are absolutely central to the metagame, which we are going to have to play differently with the loss of those cards. I have done a rotation primer, which runs you through all the basics of the rotation, so do make sure you go and check that out. I'll pop a link in the description. And I'm going to do one of these videos for every set we're losing in the rotation, so make sure you check them all out so you are fully informed about what we're losing. And as always, if there are good cards to replace them, I will chuck them in these videos so you can see them. So for now, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio where you can do just that. And do make sure you check out my video game /Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.